In January 2019, I took a look at the bugs and glitches in Battlefield 5. I think you remember the video was called 200 Things That Are Wrong with BF5. Whilst I think that video was slightly overkill, it was definitely well received and a lot of people could relate to the problems, the issues, the glitches, the bugs that I was receiving in game and experiencing, and then, to be honest, I was showing examples and showcasing exactly how they felt in a video. I definitely found it easy to make at the time, which is a real shame with a Battlefield game, and I was hoping that 12 months later the game would be in a far better place and I wouldn't be able to make the same video. That being said, you know the state Battlefield 5 is in. In this video, I've taken a slightly different approach, just the 100 bugs, glitches and issues this time around, but I've tried my best to ignore the trivial and fairly non-intrusive issues that I rarely encounter, the sort of bugs that don't annoy me at all and probably don't annoy any of you. I'll instead offer the main ones, the things that I think DICE once again need to focus on and fix, and then again I'll offer a few easy fixes and some constructive criticism. Fingers crossed DICE can once again pull Battlefield 5 up from the cesspit it sits in and provide us with a fun experience. I want to play BF5, I want to enjoy it, but right now it just needs a bit too much work, I think, for any of us to really look at it and say it's a good game. Right, so let's get on into the list, starting out with the 3 biggest issues in the game right now. Number 1, no team balancer. It needs to be sorted. It is causing major churn, new players hate it, existing players hate it, and the veterans hate it. Needs to be sorted, wasn't a problem in previous Battlefields. A year later, DICE get it fixed. Number 2, the 5.2 TTK. It's just a mess. The weapon balance is all over the place, people don't really enjoy it. Revert it and then work from there. DICE said they're not going to revert it, they're going to in fact keep on tweaking it until they get to where they want. To be honest, it's just a mess. Sort it out, again, it's killing the game off and it's a completely unnecessary change in my opinion. Number 3, cheaters. Cheaters are all over Battlefield, not as much on the EU servers as they were maybe over the summer, but the Asian servers, I know from experience, people send me clips all the time. I can't do anything about it personally, I'm not a developer, I can't really do anything, I can't send it to the devs to get these cheaters banned, but it should be a major priority for DICE and EA to get these cheaters off their platform. It's a bad look and it really does ruin servers for a lot of players. Now, in no particular order, let's get on to other bugs that are in Battlefield. These will range from issues with performance to glitches you experience in game to issues like map balance, vehicle balance and things like that. I've included some examples in the background with the help of people on my Discord, the link of which is in the description below, alongside all of their social media, so make sure you check them out if you're interested. And number 4, we have broken assignments. This is things like assignments not tracking, assignments being incorrect for certain weapons, and that sort of thing. Been there since the start of the game, could really do with getting fixed. They also don't really link into the 5.2 changes, as weapons at range have changed and the assignments haven't, but there we go. And number 5, we have floating players. Yes, players floating through midair. Often they've been sitting in a vehicle, the vehicle's exploded and they still float around in other parts of the map, and you can see examples in the background. It's just weird. TAA, anti-aliasing, is still forced on in game. I don't think they'll ever change this, but it's a massive issue, leading to big issues with visibility, which is still a problem for a lot of players. It also makes your eyes hurt, this anti-aliasing. I don't know if you've experienced that, but it makes you squint to try and focus on things, and it's just not very good. Assignments, again another one, they're not always accurate. Sometimes you will have to complete 5 kills in a row, and then it will come up and say you haven't completed it, it won't track properly. This goes for your Tides of War as well. Things don't track properly, the game seems to be a bit messy when it comes to tracking things in general. Hit reg is still awful, the netcode in the game seems bad. It depends really for me, it's match to match. Some matches it's okay, other matches it's not. I have the internet symbols up the entire time when I play the game. Is my internet awful? Very possibly, but considering all my friends have the same things as well, some of them have worse hit reg than me and no symbols at all, so I don't know what's going on there, it just seems like a bit of a mess. Number 9, no team switching. You cannot switch teams unless you go through Origin. I don't know what it's like on console. Your friend joins, he's on the enemy team, he can't join you, he cannot switch. There is no chance for it. Now, I'm not saying you should be able to switch when the teams are badly balanced, but surely having that option would be a good thing. Spawn time is reset all the time. It used to be an issue, they fixed it and now it's come back. You'll be ready to spawn in, it'll have 10 seconds left on the countdown, you'll click spawn and then it will whiz back up to 10 seconds and you have to wait again. The vehicle spawn screen is broken for a lot of players. What I mean by this is you'll click on a plane to spawn in, it will be there, you'll click on it, you're ready to spawn, it will then kick you back out of the screen, or it will come up with a red circle around it because someone else has taken it as you clearly clicked on it first from your perspective. A disaster when it comes to vehicle spawning and something that needs to be fixed. Enemies can spawn on other enemies that are under fire. You can also see players spawning on beacons that have been destroyed. Not fun. Vehicle balance is all over the place. It's a disaster. Now, I'm not talking about too many vehicles on a map. I'm talking about some tanks being clearly better than others, yet you can spawn in on them. Certain specializations not working. People having 5 AA tanks on one team and 5 Churchills on the other. It's just not good, completely imbalanced. The Ju-88 is far better than the Blenheim in my opinion, so you've got no balance and parity between the same vehicle on each side. Some fighters are better than others, there's bugs all over the place and it's just no good at all. I think the main problem though with vehicle balance is the fact there's no limits, so as I said, one team can take 5 light tanks, the other team can take 5 heavy tanks. Instead of limiting like we had in Battlefield 1, one team can take a heavy tank and a light tank. The other team can take a heavy tank and a light tank. That's the way it should be. Vehicles disappear and reappear all the time. Example in the background. It's weird and once again a glitch that shouldn't be in Battlefield at this stage in the game's life. We're well over a year in and this stuff is still happening. Sometimes you get this weird texture glitch where players, enemies, friendlies, whoever it is, they just appear with no textures at all. They slowly load in over time. You think it's at the start of a game, it often is. Sometimes though, it just appears all game and you can't do anything about it. Even on console, it's not just on PC, that bug. We're still waiting for a few historical inaccuracies to be met. I have to say it, personally, it does bother me, but not as much as it used to. A lot of people though who play Battlefield, especially the World War I and II games, for their accuracy, and DICE do pride themselves on this, you have to say that jumping out of the wrong plane into a game of Airborne just isn't fun at all. Considering that other plane is apparently in the game files, I'm not too sure on that. It just sucks really. I guess we can also say the same for soldier uniforms, and that is another issue in the game as we go down this list. Soldier uniforms really need to be iconic, and I understand if DICE don't have the time or the resources to produce these, but they're already in the game. I've seen these videos showcasing all of this stuff that's being held back. The red beret is in the game. I've seen a soldier wearing it. I think it's the female tanker or pilot. Why can't I have that across all my soldiers? What's going on here? I'm not really too sure. The tank secondary gunner seat is still a complete death trap. The only tank you can take, I think, is the 38T and the Panzer IV that have interior guns. I'm not too sure if there's any others, but apart from that, you have to sit on the top. You're sitting on the top with your MG. You can duck down, I suppose, to matrix yourself away from a sniper bullet if you see one coming. That's not really a realistic fix. And you get hit by any explosives and the gunner will just implode and disappear. Not fun at all. Animations along with this mean that jumping out as a passenger is again a death trap. Animations, maybe they should be there for the drivers, but not for the gunners in my opinion, especially if you want to produce some sort of team play and tanks that don't camp at the back of the map to avoid that problem. Towable weapons shake about and can flip when you are pulling them along. Again, been here since the beta. Snap aim is on console, something that was introduced in the last patch. It sucks, get rid of it DICE, although they said they won't, but get rid of it please. You can kill planes before they take off on runways. It's not ideal. I guess DICE have the option of not having planes on runways, some people want it. I'm not sure how they go about this. I think personally the best way is to have a kind of spawn protection as you take off the runway, therefore you get the authenticity of having a runway and taking off from it, but also you can't be killed by these campers that sit behind it. In my opinion, it's an issue and needs sorting. You can also drop mines on enemy runways and in their base, especially on the Pacific. This again is an issue in my opinion. You may not think it's an issue, but I don't think that's conducive to good and decent gameplay in Battlefield, and is instead toxic and something DICE should really be looking to remove from their game, especially with all their talks on toxic gaming. Poor game performance plagues me. The game runs horribly, has done since it was launched apart from a patch in November where it ran quite well. I think that there's something going on. I run it in DX12, and again, another issue. Shadowplay doesn't work with DX12 half the time. You can't tab in and out of the game when you're loading into stuff. It's just a bit of a mess. And also, my game crashes all the time. An example in the background. And it's not just me. Since this last patch, a lot of people's games crash all the time. My friend Eros, who often lends me gameplay, I play with him all the time as well, his game just crashed twice in one game the other day. Just dumped. No error message. Just disappeared off his computer. That is not a state that you want your game to be in this far after it launched. Ragdolls often throw your soldier into the water and then you can't be revived. Vaulting is still bugged at times. You get stuck and can't vault. This seems to be a legacy issue as it's in many Battlefield games. The EA website for Battlefield 5 is misleading and incorrect, still stating some things are going to be coming to the game, such as weekly bug fixes or whatever it says. An example on screen now. It's misleading, it needs to be changed. Community games are essentially a non-feature at this point and don't fit the bill at all. They don't get anywhere near the level of community games we need in Battlefield. Key modes like Domination, Rush and Frontlines are nowhere to be seen. Vehicle customization is still coming soon, and that is the biggest meme I think in this list. Firestorm has been dropped and was in my opinion a complete failure. It could have been really good, but let's be honest, it just isn't. DICE have just given up with it. Criterion had it, and then apparently we were going to get all these fixes, the looting being the first one. That never came. The game has just been dumped and the players have been abandoned. The Battlefield 5 game economy screen has been considerably altered since launch, even more so with the addition of weapons into the Tides of War progression, although I will hold my judgment on that until it actually arrives. It might not be pay to win because we don't know. However, all of the alarm bells are ringing. The spawn screen is a pain in the ass to navigate. Battlefield 1 had a way better system, a screenshot in the background. Why can't we have that? So you can pick your weapons and loadouts just on the fly instead of having a million clicks to find what you want. Map voting isn't a thing after being very well received in Battlefield 1. Weapon balance is appalling since the 5.2 update, with the Type 2A being a plague that ruins most close quarters engagements, and for the average player, the only counter to the Type 2A is of course a Type 2A. Go figure. Balance on some maps is really bad, and I'm talking about vehicle balance, with Wake Island being a perfect example on Breakthrough, with the attackers still getting 6 tanks. What happened to the days where DICE would release a mode and a map and then tweak it a week after release because something was broken on it? A real shame that that seems to have disappeared. The Deluxe Edition owners have still been shortchanged, and that has not been addressed even this long into the game's life. Fake reload on heal is still here. Sometimes you will experience random spotted icons in the sky. People regularly get stuck on the death screen and have no other option but to Alt F4 the game or log in and log out on console. The Mosquito 6-pounder front-mounted gun dusts like crazy on enemy aircraft. Examples in the background have been playing through the video. Not fun at all. Sound glitches are quite common. I get the weird V1 sounds that don't go away. Crocodile tanks also buzz like crazy at times, and then you get things like this. Another bug, I suppose, is the weapon fire bug. Sometimes you kill someone and their weapon continues to fire indefinitely in the background. An example for you to listen to now. Limited time game modes are the stupidest thing I've ever heard of, and they might work for a special event, you know, a bayonet only event or something like that. But for things like Outpost, just have it in the game. Let people enjoy the content that you've put so much effort into. Firestorm still has the stretched out texture bug. An example in the background once again. The link for the person who recorded this is down in the description. This was from before the 5.2 patch where they fixed it, but then it's come back again since. Joining on friends through Origin is still terrible. The in-game system doesn't work properly, so you're often forced to use Origin and you're left with bugs. Joining servers will often leave you with the server cannot be found or other error messages. Planes lag out in the sky, although this is probably linked into poor game performance. Massive stutters on DX11 or micro stutters on DX12. Take your pick, still hasn't been fixed. You can still bomb the enemy in their base at the start of a round. Why not delay the plane spawns by 20 seconds on modes like Conquest and Breakthrough? You can drop squad orders into the enemy uncaps. V1s and artillery can of course be called into enemy bases, as if getting spawn camped wasn't enough. A big one here, the main menu. Although it has seen quite a few updates, it is still a mess. It doesn't make a lot of sense to new players and would be fairly disorientating to me if I had just picked up the game. So many clicks to make anything happen, hidden menus, tides of war, weekly assignments, daily assignments, specializations, the armory, the list goes on. It's all hidden, it's counterintuitive. If I told you right now how do you access the platoon emblem system in Battlefield that doesn't just impact your platoon emblem in Battlefield 5, it stretches across all the Battlefield games, how do you find it? It's at the top left, hidden away. Loads of people don't know that because it's hidden. Bad menu design. It's really not that difficult considering all the examples with previous Battlefield games that DICE have to look at. The armory is rarely updated with new content. Boins are pretty much essential if you want to get any decent cosmetics, which isn't great in my opinion. Connection ping, stutters, issues on all platforms. It really seems to vary update to update. Sometimes I'll play on EU servers with 130 ping. Kinda weird really, shouldn't be a thing. Could not join squad error code 1 bug is always in the game when I try to join a squad in the menu. The T-posing soldier bug is back. The tank also gets this black zoom in screen. I don't know if you ever see it where you try and zoom in and you get like a black screen for a couple of seconds. Very annoying and disorientating. And the tank reticle crosshair temporarily disappears while in zoom mode or in first person. Again, weird. The first person tank screen shake when near friendly tanks or vehicles is back. More on console than PC in my opinion. I have experienced it myself though and it's very weird. Have you noticed that sometimes pilots will randomly stand up on the cockpit of their plane as they fly past? It's a very unusual bug. The smoke grenade rifle sometimes doesn't pop the smoke canister as it goes straight through the ground, and often smoke isn't as consistent as you might hope so, especially on snow maps where you will see silhouettes of players and then be able to shoot them through the smoke. You can't spawn on a squad mate as he's in combat, however, this will often be the case when your friend is just running and isn't in combat. When you then do spawn on your squad mate, you then both get shot down. It happens all the time and it's incredibly frustrating. Why can't we just have that little cam we have in Battlefield 4 where you can see over the shoulder of the squad mate you're trying to spawn on to see if he's in combat yourself. You still get stuttering whilst completing assignments. This has been in the game for ages and really sucks. Sometimes you're not able to go ADS after being revived until you switch weapons. Other times you will just have the syringe stuck out and you'll be running around with it. The netcode is a bit weird, often I will get shot when I'm already behind cover. There are issues with squad call-ins, sometimes as a Brit you can get the Sturmtiger or vice versa. The pilot spawn and lag bug is something that really needs to go in the game. Essentially what will happen is you'll spawn in and your plane will pitch down towards the ground, you'll lag and then crash into the floor. Also, I've had the bug where you spawn in without a tank or without a plane and you're standing there as a tanker or as a pilot just in the middle of nowhere without your vehicle. A lot of people are once again complaining about not receiving their company coin after levelling up. This was a problem ages ago and once again has returned to the game. We've had a significant drop-off in roadmaps, information and general progress with Battlefield 5. What's coming next? Will we see these things fixed? The Trello board is updated, but seemingly the bugs on there aren't being fixed at all. We need to know what's going to happen, even if it's a message saying nothing is going to happen for a few weeks. Some modes like ground operations have been left without any updates or future plans. Trees and plants still bounce around on some maps like Twisted Steel when they are shot. Weapon variety is at an all-time low. Rocket pods on all the planes do not work against aircraft. Plane mechanics are also still really poor. DICE need to improve the dogfighting potential in-game and also look at sorting out the weird engine speed issues. There are 2 stationary weapons on Aerodrome that now spawn inside rocks and therefore cannot be used. Although DICE have fixed a couple of the issues on Aerodrome, some maps still have some major issues with cover and you'll often find that you can't get from one flag to another because there simply hasn't been any thought at all in terms of the cover and the routes that you can take. Right, so we're about 20 minutes in and I think I've given you between 80 and 90 bugs in the game. I'm going to stop there and I do have a few more listed, but the reason I'm going to stop is because I'm at a point with Battlefield now where I don't feel as if it's going to be fixed. I don't think we're ever going to see the turnaround that we saw with Battlefield 4, and it's very sad to say that. And the reason I think it's not going to happen is because DICE have set themselves a completely unrealistic target. Not on purpose, I think they've been trying to bring us a good game, but they have so much to fix in Battlefield 5. Alongside new content, we're going to see apparently Chapter 6, 7, 8 and 9, according to some data miners. That's a massive amount of content. I'd sooner, right now, DICE come out and say, Chapter 6, we've got the jungle map, and maybe another map being worked on in the background. You'll receive those 2 maps. We are then going to do nothing but fix the game. Nothing else. No content, no new weapons, nothing. All it will be is Operation Health. We'll put on some special events, some map rotations, we'll give you a couple of free cosmetics. We might bring in some other cosmetics as well to keep that microtransaction thing up that they're so keen on. And we will fix Battlefield. That is it. For me, personally, that would be enough. I wouldn't need another massive faction or location or theatre of war. Just fix the damn game. Once the game is fixed, maybe next year or towards the end of this year, hopefully, if it doesn't take them that long, they can bring in a new theatre of war, another big chapter like the Pacific. I'd personally prefer that approach instead of new content dropping into a broken game. Let me know in the comments what you think. I'm going to wrap up the video here because I feel as if going through the other bugs just isn't really worth my time. You can let me know how you'd prefer DICE to approach it. Fix the game properly with a big Operation Health system, or just keep on as usual and bring some pretty decent content alongside some fairly major bugs. Let me know what you think in the comments. Hopefully you made it to the end of the video. Congratulations. If you did, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.